Mystery reader, who could it be? Hello, my friends. It's Miss Maria from the kitchen. In other words, Kathy's maybe better half, I'm not sure. But we are sure missing all of you. I am the mystery reader for the week, and I thought what an appropriate time to do something since it is Holy Week. We maybe won't be spending much time with our relatives, but I think I got a pretty good book for us to read together to hope that it reminds us the reason for the season and just enjoy time together. So the book I picked for this week is The Tale of Three Trees. If you have it, go ahead and open it, and the school-age kids, you can read along with me. The Tale of Three Trees retold by Angela Hunt, illustrations by Tom, I want to say Joinke, Jonke. Ask your parents if maybe they know how to pronounce it. Once upon a mountaintop, three little trees stood and dreamed of what they wanted to become when they grew up. The first little tree looked up at the stars twinkling like diamonds above him. "I want to hold treasure," he said. "I want to be covered with gold and filled with precious stones. I will be the most beautiful treasure chest in the world." The second little tree looked out at the small stream trickling by on its way to the ocean. "I want to be a strong sailing ship," he said. "I want to travel mighty waters and carry powerful kings. I will be the strongest ship in the world." The third little tree looked down into the valley below, where busy men and busy women worked in a busy town. "I don't want to leave this mountaintop at all," she said. "I want to grow so tall that when people stop to look at me, they will raise their eyes to heaven and think of God. I will be the tallest tree in the world." Years passed. The rains came. The sun shone. The little trees grew tall. One day, three woodcutters climbed the mountain. The first woodcutter looked at the first tree and said, "This tree is beautiful. It is perfect for me." With a swoop of his shiny axe, the first tree fell. "Now I shall be made into a beautiful chest," thought the first tree. I shall hold wonderful treasure." The second woodcutter looked at the second tree and said, "This tree is strong. It is perfect for me." With a swoop of his shiny axe, the second tree fell. "Now I shall sail mighty waters," thought the second tree. "I shall be a strong ship fit for kings." The third tree felt her heart sink when the last woodcutter looked her way. She stood straight and tall and pointed bravely to heaven, but the woodcutter never even looked up. "Any kind of tree will do for me," he muttered. With a swoop of his shiny axe, the third tree fell. The first tree rejoiced when the woodcutter brought him to a carpenter's shop, but the busy carpenter was not thinking about treasure chests. Instead, his work-worn hands fashioned the tree into a feed box for animals. The once beautiful tree was not covered with gold or filled with treasure. It was coated with sawdust and filled with hay for hungry farm animals. The second tree smiled when the woodcutter took him to a shipyard, but no mighty sailing ships were being made that day. Instead, the once strong tree was hammered and sawed into a simple fishing boat. Too small and too weak to sail an ocean or even a river, he was taken to a little lake. Every day he brought in loads of dead, smelly fish. The third tree was confused when the woodcutter cut her into strong beams and left her in a lumberyard. What happened? The once tall tree wondered. All I ever wanted to do was stay on the mountaintop and point to God. Many, many days and nights passed. The three trees nearly forgot their dreams. But one night, golden starlight poured over the first tree as a young woman placed her newborn baby in the feed box. I wish I could make a cradle for him, her husband whispered. The mother squeezed his hand and smiled as the starlight shone on the smooth and sturdy wood. This manger is beautiful, she said, and suddenly the first tree knew he was holding the greatest treasure in the world. One evening, a tired traveler and his friends crowded into the old fishing boat. The traveler fell asleep as the second tree quietly sailed out into the lake. Soon a thundering and thrashing storm arose. The little tree shuddered. He knew he did not have the strength to carry so many passengers safely through the wind and rain. The tired man awakened. He stood up, stretched out his hand, and said, "Peace." The storm stopped as quickly as it had begun, and suddenly the second tree knew he was carrying the King of heaven and earth. One Friday morning, the third tree was startled when her beams were yanked from the forgotten woodpile. She flinched as she was carried through an angry, jeering crowd. She shuddered when soldiers nailed a man's hands to her. She felt ugly and harsh and cruel. But on Sunday morning, when the sun rose and the earth trembled with joy beneath her, the third tree knew that God's love had changed everything. It had made the first tree beautiful. It had made the second tree strong. And every time people thought of the third tree, they would think of God. That was better than being the tallest tree in the world. The end. Friends, I hope you enjoyed that book of The Tale of the Three Trees. You know, this is a special week for us. Today is Holy Thursday. It's the day where Jesus has his Last Supper with his friends. We have one that sits in my family house. It's for a replica. The next day that we have is Good Friday, where, as mentioned in our book, one of the trees ends up being the cross, where our beloved Jesus is placed. Also, in my home, as a reminder for my kids, we have this tomb, where on Good Friday, here's our friend Jesus is laid in. And then on Holy Saturday and on Sunday, we will then get to celebrate Jesus coming back to us. At which point my family and I will open the tomb and Jesus will come out because he lives Also replicated is the baby in the manger, where one of the trees wanted to be the treasure chest and ended up being this instead, which is, again, holding the treasure as I mentioned. Well, I hope you all have enjoyed today. I hope you enjoyed reading the three trees, the tale of the three trees, and I really do hope you have a wonderful Easter, a very holy weekend, and please stay safe and stay healthy. Miss you all, and happy Easter.